Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel, Let's Crack Real Math. My name is Viraaj and in this video we'll be having a look at functions. So before we start the video, please make sure you perform an LSS, that is like, share and subscribe. And yep, let's get started. So before we dive into examples, let's have a quick look at what exactly functions are. So a function is any equation or expression that has a given output for a certain input. Let's, for example, say our expression is 3x plus 4. If we were to input 5, that means putting 5 into x. We know that 3 times 5, that would have given 15, plus 4 would have given 19. So our output would have been 19. Similarly, if you would have put in, for example, maybe 6, our output would have been different. It would have 3 times 6, which is 18, plus 4, which would have given you 22 instead of 19 as your output. So in words, in all, a function is something that has an output for a given input. That's the standard definition of a function. Now, expressions can range from very simple ones in terms of 3x plus 4 to complicated polynomials such as 6x to the power of 3 plus 3x squared minus x plus 99. They can range from anywhere. But the most important thing is that it has an output for an input. So let's dive into some examples. So complete the following. So for the first question we have, find the value of f of 5 when f of x is equal to 3x minus 2. So whenever it says something like f of x, this is basically just representing some sort of expression. In this case is 3x minus 2. So when it says f into 5, all they're saying is that you put this 5 into a place of x over here. So we know that this then would be 3 into 5 minus 2. This is 15 minus 2. This would be 13. And that would be your final answer. Our next example, sort of something similar. It says find the value of g of 7 when g of x is 4x minus x squared. So again, as I said, when it says anything into x, in this case it's g of x, it's just representing the expression, which in this case is 4x minus x squared. So we put the 7 into the x over here. So this would now be 4 into 7 minus 7 squared. 4 times 7, that's 28, minus 49, 7 times 7 is 49, and 28 minus 49 is minus 21. Let's just confirm that real quick with the calculator. Yep, it is minus 21. So that is your final answer for that question. Now let's move on to the next example. Next question says, find the inverse of the following functions. So they've given us the function and they want us to find the inverse. Now what is the inverse? The inverse is nothing but rearranging the formula to make x the subject. Now, if you don't know how to do that, I would advise you to look at my previous video on rearranging the formula to make x the subject. So, without wasting time, all we have to do in this case is just do 4x plus 7 equals y. We equate it to y. You can equate it to z, you could equate it to p, you could equate it to k. It's just a variable that you're trying to equate it to. In this case, we equate it to y because that is something that's more commonly used by mathematicians around the world. So trying to make x the subject, we do 4x equals to y minus 7. We do x is equal to y minus 7 over 4. Now that we've made it the subject, that's not our final answer. We need to rewrite this, and we write it like this. We do f inverse of x is equal to x minus 7 over 4. Now, the two things to note over here is when you're trying to write inverse f of x of inverse of f of x, you write it like this with a minus 1 at the top. And your final answer you can see as we had y over here, you just change that y to x. So do not make the mistake of writing y over here as well, because you will be penalized for this. You need to change it back to x, and that is your inverse of that first function. So moving on to the next question, again we need to find the inverse of g of x. So we again do 15x squared plus 3 equals y. So we make x the subject. This becomes 15x squared equals to y minus 3. We have x squared equal to y minus 3 over 15. We have x to be the square root of y minus 3 over 15. And please note that this is plus and minus. Whenever you have a square root, there's always a plus and minus in front of it. So again, now that we're halfway to the answer, we need to now present it in the proper format. So this then becomes, since we're using the letter g over here, this will become g inverse of g of x equals to plus minus square root of x minus 3 over 15. Again, emphasis to the minus 1 over here, and emphasis of the change of the y from here to the x over here. You need to change that back to x. Your final answer should never contain a y when you're trying to find the inverse, because you're just using the y as a beacon point to help find the final answer. Moving on to the next example. This says, find f g of x given f of x is 3x minus 4 and g of x is x over 5 plus 1. Now, this does look complicated at first looking, but let's have a closer look. Whenever you have these type of questions, f, g, x, you need to follow a particular order. For example, in this case, all we have to do is we have to take our g of x and put it into f of x. So whatever our g of x is, in this case it's x over 5 plus 1, put this in the place of x in f of x, which is 3 into x minus 4. So to do this, we will simply just do 3 into x over 5 plus 1 minus 4. Now, it may look confusing, but just pay a little bit of attention here. What I've done is that I've taken this x over 5 plus 1 and put it and replaced it with x. So I've kept f of x in the same format. This is still your 3, this is still your minus 4, but my x has changed to x over 5 plus 1. And this is because that is our g of x, and we're just putting that g of x over here. So this eventually becomes our new x. So, continuing to solve the question, we just need to expand this and simplify it. Now, another way you could have written this is you could have written something like this. You could have done 1 over 5x, but it is the same thing. It means exactly the same thing, so I would prefer it the other way around. I would say x over 5. So, let's do the necessary. This becomes 3 into x over 5 minus 3, because 1 minus 4 is minus 3. Expanding this, 3 times x over 5 is nothing but 3x over 5 minus 9. And that is the final answer. Be careful when you're working with a minus, because minus is the most dangerous sign. In this case, it remains a minus because a positive is being multiplied with it. Moving to the next example. Over here, we have given f of x is x squared minus 4 and g of x is 4x minus 1, find the value of f g of x minus 2. Now, the previous example we saw, we had something like this. We had something like f into g of x. Whenever you have something like this, you just take the g of x and put it into f. This could have been written as maybe, let's say another example, something like h of p of x. All you'd have done is taken your p of x and put it into your h of x. However, in this case, it's not like that. In this case, you do not have an x over here, you have an x minus 2. So whenever you do not have an x and you have something different from x, like x minus 2, x squared plus 2, maybe even just an integer on its own, 7 and 6, 7 or 6, you have to put this x minus 2 into g and then put it into f. What I mean to say is, let's put the x minus 2 into our g first. This would be 4 into x minus 2 minus 1. Now, as you can see, we're still using the same 4. We still have the 4 over here. We still have a minus 1 over here. It's just that the x has been changed by x minus 2. So, expanding this, you would have 4x minus 8 minus 1. You would have 4x minus 9. Now you have your g. We now need to put this g into f. Right? So let's do that on this side over here. Our f is x squared minus 4. So this just simply becomes 4x minus 9 squared minus 4. All we've done is we've replaced the x over here with 4x minus 9. So doing the necessary, we expand this, 4x minus 9 into 4x minus 9 minus 4. Expanding this, we would have 16x squared minus 36x minus 36x minus 4, sorry, plus 81 and then minus 4. This then becomes 16x squared minus 72x plus 77. And that is your final answer. As you can see, this can be a bit tricky, but always work from the right side to the left. If, for example, I had something like h of p into 9 plus x, I would have put in this 9 plus x into my p first, and then whatever is my resultant answer, I'll put that into my h. So you go from right to left when you're dealing with functions. Let's quickly move on to the next example. You have, given that g of x is 5 over 4x and f of x is 7x plus 3x minus 2, find the value of g of f of 4. So, as I said, the first thing we'll do is that we'll put the 4 into our f, and then whatever the resultant is of that, we'll put that into our g. Again, we go from right to left. So let's put 4 into our f of x. This would become 7 into 4 squared plus 3 into 4 minus 2. I've just substituted 4 into all the places of x over here. 4 times 2 is 16, times 7 is 112, plus 3 times 4 is also 12, plus 12 minus 2. Doing this, you would have 122. Now that we have our resultant of this, we now need to put it into g. So let's put 122 into g. This becomes 5 over 4 into 122. All I've done is I've taken my 122 and put it into the x value over here. So 5 over 4, 122, 5 over 488, if I'm not wrong. Let's have a quick look on the calculator. 4 times 122. Yep, it is 488. And that is your final answer, because you have done the necessary workings. You've put whatever you needed from right to left into there. So moving on to the final example of this video. This is a challenge question. I will label it a challenge question here. Challenge question. Pause the video and have a go on this on your own, and once you resume the video, you'll be hearing me having a go at this as well. So let's have a look at this. It says, if f of x is x squared plus 1, what is f of x? Now, if you look at it carefully, all it's trying telling us to do is just put f of x into f of x again. As I said, if you had something like g of h of x, all you're doing is putting h of x into g. Whenever you have x, you're just putting that function into another function. In this case, we're not putting into just another function, we're putting into the same function again, which is also very much possible. So let's put our f of x into our f. We know that we have x squared plus 1, so automatically we have x squared plus 1 all squared plus 1. I've kept the same format of this f of x. We still have our 1, we still have our square root over here. It's just that the x inside has been changed by the f of x itself, which is also x squared plus 1. May look a bit complicated, but real easy once you get it. So let's expand this. You know, x squared plus 1 squared is the same as x squared plus 1 into x squared plus 1, and then we have a plus 1. Please make sure you've watched my previous video on expansion of brackets. That would make it a lot easier to do functions. Expanding this, we have x to the power of 4. Knowing your law of indices, you know that when you times indices, you'll add them. That's x to the power of 4 plus x to the power of 2 plus x to the power of 2 plus 1 plus 1, because 1 times 1 is 1, and then you have plus 1 there. Collecting your like terms, you have x to the power of 4 plus 2x squared plus 2. And that is your final answer. So thank you guys for watching this video on functions. Hope you enjoyed it. Please do not forget to perform an LSS, that is like, share and subscribe. Please feel free to comment below for any feedback you have or any questions you may have. Thank you for watching. Have a nice one, guys.